When Jenna and Mark first laid eyes on the old Victorian house, they were captivated by its charm, the promise of history wrapped in peeling paint and creaking floorboards. The couple envisioned a cozy haven, filled with laughter and love, a place where they could build their future together. They were eager to breathe new life into the neglected structure, to strip away the layers of time and reveal its hidden beauty. Little did they know that their renovation project would unearth more than just dust and decay. The first few weeks were filled with excitement. They tackled the living room, stripping wallpaper that had long since faded into obscurity. Each roll peeled away revealed the house's past, layers of color and patterns that whispered stories of the families who had come before. But it was during the renovation of the upstairs that they stumbled upon something unexpected. Behind a false wall, they found a sealed door, its wood warped and darkened by age. Curiosity piqued, they pried it open, revealing a small, hidden room. Inside, the air was thick with a musty smell, and the dim light from their flashlights flickered across the walls. Child-sized handprints, some smudged and faded, marred the surface, as if a small child had pressed their palms against the walls in desperation. In the center of the room stood a rusted cage, its bars bent and twisted, a relic of a time long gone. The sight sent a chill down Jenna's spine, but what truly caught her attention was the diary resting on a dusty shelf, its leather cover cracked and worn. As they flipped through the pages, the words revealed a disturbing obsession. The previous owner, a woman named Eliza, had been consumed by the idea of purifying souls. The entries detailed her descent into madness, her belief that she could cleanse the spirits of children who had wandered too far from the light. She wrote about rituals, about capturing wayward souls in the cage, and about the whispers that filled the night, begging for release. Jenna's heart raced as she read the words aloud, each sentence heavier than the last, each revelation darker than the one before. That night, as they lay in bed, the house creaked and groaned around them, the sounds echoing through the stillness. Mark, exhausted from the day's work, fell into a deep sleep, but Jenna remained awake, her mind racing with the implications of what they had discovered. The whispers from the diary echoed in her mind, and as she drifted into an uneasy slumber, she thought she heard faint voices calling out, pleading for help. Days passed, and the renovations continued, but the atmosphere in the house shifted. The air felt thicker, more oppressive, and Jenna often caught glimpses of shadows darting just beyond her line of sight. Mark dismissed her concerns, attributing her unease to the stress of the renovation. But as night fell, the whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if the hidden room was calling out to them. One evening, Jenna awoke to find Mark missing from their bed. Panic surged through her as she searched the house, her heart pounding in her chest. The whispers had grown into a cacophony, echoing off the walls, begging for release. She followed the sound, her breath quickening as she reached the door to the hidden room. It stood ajar, the darkness beyond beckoning her closer. Inside, the air was colder, and the whispers intensified, swirling around her like a storm. She called out for Mark, but her voice was swallowed by the shadows. The rusted cage loomed ominously in the corner, and she felt an overwhelming urge to touch it, to understand its purpose. As her fingers brushed against the cold metal, a shiver ran down her spine, and she heard Mark's voice, faint and distant, calling her name. Before she could react, she felt a presence behind her. She turned, but the room was empty. The whispers morphed into a single, chilling voice that echoed in her mind, urging her to join them, to help them break free. Fear clawed at her throat, but she couldn't shake the feeling that Mark was somehow connected to this place, to the darkness that lurked within. Desperate, she stumbled back toward the door, but it slammed shut with a deafening bang. Panic surged through her as she pounded on the wood, calling for Mark, but her voice was drowned out by the whispers. They grew louder, more frenzied, as if the spirits trapped within the walls were desperate for her to stay. She felt a pull, a magnetic force urging her to remain, to listen to their stories, to understand their pain. Suddenly the door creaked open, and Mark stood there, his eyes wide and unfocused, as if he were in a trance. "Jenna," he murmured, his voice distant. "They need us." Before she could respond, he stepped inside, the door slamming shut behind him. Jenna's heart raced as she realized he was sleepwalking, drawn into the room by the very force that had haunted them since their arrival. "Mark, please!" she cried, but he didn't seem to hear her. He walked toward the cage, his movements slow and deliberate, as if he were entranced by the whispers that filled the air. In a moment of sheer terror, Jenna lunged for the door, but it wouldn't budge. Panic surged through her as she realized they were trapped, ensnared by the very darkness they had uncovered. As Mark reached for the cage, Jenna screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the shadows. The whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar, and she felt the weight of the room pressing down on her, suffocating her will to fight. In that instant, she knew they were not alone. The spirits of the children, trapped for so long, had found new vessels, new souls to torment. With a final surge of desperation, Jenna hurled herself against the door, and it swung open, spilling her into the hallway. She turned back, but the door slammed shut once more, sealing Mark inside. The whispers faded into silence, and Jenna collapsed to the floor, tears streaming down her face. Days turned into weeks, but Mark never returned. The house stood silent, the hidden room sealed once more, its secrets buried within the walls. Jenna moved out, leaving the memories behind, but the whispers followed her, haunting her dreams, a reminder of the darkness that lurked within the hidden room. She would never forget the night the house claimed her love, nor the chilling truth that some doors are better left unopened.